Welcome back to another webinar, and at QA Touch today, we have Faiz Modi, a software testing professional with more than 8 years of experience in performing different types of testing, including test automation. Faiz is currently working as a senior test automation engineer at Globant. He is one of the enablers of the test chat community, which is focused on bringing the testers' voices to the fore. Faiz considers himself a lifelong student, whether it's about the professional journey or the personal journey, and he likes to share his professional knowledge and use his technical skill sets with the intention of helping his fellow testers from the community to the best of his abilities. In this webinar, Faiz will talk about the test automation trends to watch out for.
Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about test automation trends to watch out. But before discussing the topic, let me introduce myself quickly. I am Faiz Modi. I have more than 8 years of experience in the field of software testing. I am currently working as senior test automation engineer with Globant. I am also one of the enablers of the test chat community. You can reach out to me or connect with me on LinkedIn and Twitter mentioned here. And today we are going to discuss these trends to watch out. First up is why test automation pyramid is not forgotten yet. What is more to test and automate than just functionality? Are JavaScript based tools going to rule the test automation world? How you can code less but still automate more? And what you can automate beyond the traditional test automation? Okay, so first is test automation pyramid is not forgotten. So this is, we can say, very famous image or diagram or concept. So this is the test automation pyramid. So the lowest layer, or we can say at the base, is the unit layer, unit part. Then the middle layer or middle portion is the service, and on top it's the UI. So as you can see, the the cost of creating, maintaining, and executing the test cases and test scenarios increases more as we go upwards in this pyramid, and it becomes less as we go downwards in the pyramid. And similarly, the speed of creation, maintenance, and execution of the scenarios becomes lower as we go upwards in the pyramid, and becomes higher as we go downwards in the pyramid. So it is good to have like as much scenarios as possible at the unit layer, then service layer, and at UI layer we should have as much minimum scenarios as possible. But when industry started adopting test automation, so since it was a new concept, many people and organization were not aware about this, and they like heavily relied upon the UI part, and were not relying upon, or I can say not giving input that much of emphasis on these two layers. But now, since like there has been a long time the industry has adopted test automation, and gradually people were realizing the challenges and the I can say cons of automating more on the UI side or automating only on the UI side, because of the flakiness, because of the amount of maintenance required, etc., so on and so forth. So now people are again realizing and remembering and trying to emphasize according to this concept only. And there is benefits of those as well, because you can like start testing early. Let's say like generally, like the service layer is created, or service is also known as the business layer, or we can see the application logic resides actually in the business logic resides at the service layer. So like many times it happens that the service layer is created first, then the UI layer is created, or sometimes it works in parallel, or depending upon your application, it may happen that your application does not have any UI. You are just like providing some service platform as a service or something, and that is why you are providing only, like we can say, backend or API, but not, there is no UI as well. So those kind of use cases started increasing. And like when you do testing at this layer and test automation at this layer, so like comparatively, the cost, and these cost is less, speed is high, and even like maintenance is very less also. There are very less chances to for this business logic to change frequently. But let's say even if once in a while it changes, then also you will be able to quickly adopt those changes in your test cases and validate the logic accordingly. Also, when you will do the UI testing, so for some of the tests, let's say you have validated one flow, like we can say maybe kind of end-to-end flow or something, or let's say you have done login, like whenever in application you will do login, then only you will perform some other functionalities, right? But each and every time, let's say if you are doing login, then it may take like more time, so you can probably replace it with some of the like API for the login purpose, for the authentication purpose, so you can save your time there. So you can that way combine the API and UI test case or scenarios as well. So this is how you can leverage. So as we discussed before, because of those reasons, the demand of this API testing, API test automation, contact testing, and automation for contact testing, those related skills is very high. Okay, and since like Java is most widely used language or tech stack in the test automation world, so most demand is currently for the rest assured. Okay, but it's not necessary that you have to like know, or you can do only in rest assured. Depending upon the tech stack you are using, you can use, like there is in Python, using Python also you can do, because there are modules and library for that as well. Using JavaScript based tools also you can do. So there are many different ways you can do it, so it's not necessary to be bind to one particular tool. Okay, there are like good tools like karate as well, so there are like many tools. Okay, depending upon your use case you can choose, but it's very important to be aware about the API testing concepts and API test automation concept at least, so that if regardless of whatever tools you are using, you can get the opportunity and you can leverage the uh, benefit of automating at the service layer, or we can say lower layers as well. Now moving on to the next part. So here, uh, as I mentioned before, there is more to test and automate than just functionality. Okay, and let me give one example. You are trying to access one site, but like it is very heavily loaded, and you are not able to access it. Uh, then will you? Then will you say that it is functionally working for you? uh, in a way you can say, but in a way it's not. Even if it is functionally working, the functionality is not broken, maybe the entire site is working like very, means no module or no functionality is broken, but the site itself is not accessible. Then what is the use of that? No use of that, right? Because you are not able to access, then what is the meaning of that? So non-functional testing, even though there is some discussion around whether we should call it non-functional testing or not, but it is a separate topic. But uh, it is very important. Means it has always been important, but now there is more emphasis on it, because the way internet is accessible to all, the way the world is moving, everything is getting digital. People are having like portable devices, they are wearing smart watches and so on and so forth. So due to that, like we can say the whole digitalization and how the internet access is becoming increasing, it is more and more important for to focus on these aspects, like performance is one of that, security is one of that, Accessibility is one of that, so that everyone can access your application or website without any issues. Okay, special focus on the specially able people. And now the trend is to shift left with that. So generally what happened that it was considered as an afterthought, like after functional testing or something. It was think about the performance, to check about performance or security or accessibility as afterthought. But with the shift left approach with everything, this is also now being considered as part of the shift left, which is very good thing, because as early we test as possible, then it is like less rework and less cost also, and for customer also it's a very good experience, we can say. So you can leverage these CI/CD concepts. You can have it in your pipeline, your performance tests, your security tests, your accessibility tests. Like we have our functional test, whether it's UI or API or anything, so you can have it there itself, so that let's say if a new build has come, then you can validate in that build also if there is some regression in terms of the performance, security, or the accessibility. Also the different kind of libraries or dependencies or modules we use depending upon the tech stack. It is also very important to ensure that those libraries or dependencies or modules should not be having any kind of vulnerabilities. So those kind of checks are also being performed using this. So that is, we can say, more of a check, and like the kind of testing or test automation we perform or we can perform, that can be done like for, if I give you one example, security testing, you can integrate OWASP with your Jenkins. So that is one of the example. So the focus is gradually like shifting on left and gradually covering these other areas as well, which is good for the user experience purpose as well. Now the next one is JavaScript based tools are going to rule or not. Okay. So before discussing about this, let me discuss why like they have started getting more attraction. Okay. So like whenever we are doing web UI automation, there are some challenges like flakiness. Okay. Then like weight or sync related issues are there. Then another issue is like whenever we are working, so we need to, so whenever we are working, so we need to like uh, additionally set up reporting tools, additionally have like entire framework we have to like build, like because there are different components, and the library which we might be using can only is only responsible for doing the automation part, but the rest of the part like reporting and other stuff is not there. Okay. So since like you all must be aware that the browsers are made of JavaScript only, so it becomes easier to interact with the browser using the JavaScript based tools. So it provides, that we can say, less flakiness. Also execution times are much lesser compared to other tools. Then some tools are very easy to set up, and they are having inbuilt reporting and other kind of functionality as well. So that is also one of the reason. So so these kind of reasons led to rise of these tools. Also some of these tools provide facilities not only limited to the UI testing but also to the API testing. Some also provide the visual testing capabilities as well. So which is like, so for API testing or visual testing, you don't need to have any other additional tool or a separate framework or a separate library or module or something. So that is why JavaScript is based tools started to get more attraction. Okay. And this is the data. which I fetched from this site. So this is basically shows the number of downloads of these npm modules. The blue is for the Cypress, the orange one is for Playwright, and this green one is for WebDriver.io. For the last 2 years, I mean, this is from August 2020 to August 2022, and this is just the number of downloads of the npm modules. So from that we can see that how many times this were downloaded. So we can say that, you know, gradually it has increased a lot. Okay, like if you see some older data, then you can see it was around like very less, and then it has reached here. But deliberately taken only 2 years data because Playwright is comparatively new and there was no much data of the last 5 years. That's why I took data of only the last 2 years, means from August 2020 to August 2022. And I'm not saying that other tools are not like not that much capable or something, but some of the advantages, as I mentioned before, and it is not necessary that these tools are perfect, because every tools has its own we can say pros and cons. So you need to be very wise when trying to choose your tool. You need to focus on what kind of requirement you have and other stuff as well. Okay, and then you can make your decision. Also other tools are also evolving, so it would be good to see like where this trend goes. Okay, but and yeah, and there are sometimes people face challenges because, you know, even though these tools are easy to set up and all those stuff, but generally like people do not have any exposure with JavaScript, or have very less exposure with JavaScript. So there is a learning curve there little bit, of course. But I would say that depending upon the requirement, if the tool fits your requirement, then that learning curve would be worth to choose that tool. And apart from that, I would share one more tip, that if you are trying to use this kind of tool, then you can probably go with the TypeScript. So you can have like we can say stick typing in a way with JavaScript as well. Now this is about codeless automate more. So when world like previously world was, you know, having wires, like we were using landlines, we were using, let's say, wired headphones or earphones. Okay, and then there was a time where things were becoming codeless. Okay, so mouses are now wireless, then the earphones are wireless, headphones are wireless, landline became codeless, and then it turned into cellular phone. So that is like very well known example, so I won't go into much detail into about that. But now it's time to move on from codeless to codeless. So it also depends upon the requirement, of course, but since the like the way the industry is moving, like we need to deliver and test software as fast as possible, but without compromising on the quality part, right? Also there are sometimes challenges that people may not have the exposure or knowledge about writing code, and that's where it comes. Sometimes, you know, it poses a challenge to, you know, do test automation, because test automation helps you to like a test automation helps you to check the quality in a faster manner, I can say. Sorry for this inconvenience. Yeah, I clicked by mistake. Yeah, so this is the reason why like focus is more on codeless. And in the recent past there has there are a lot many tools which have come into the market, and some of them are very promising. Like when I started my career, like it was like maybe beginning of this, but the tools were like, since it was a new technology, it was not that much we can say powerful, but now it is more powerful and more capable. So depending upon your requirement, you can make use of this. Also these are low code tools. Okay, so in this, what happens that like you may not need to do any coding, or depending upon your sometimes the specific scenario you need to handle. So these tools provide you capability to write specific code snippet. So whether you know coding or not, you can use it. How? Let's say if you don't know coding, then you can use the tool to create test automation without writing code. And let's say if you already know coding, then you can either help your team to write code whenever it's required to handle some specific scenario, or you can utilize this tool to and do not write code as much as possible and try to automate as much scenario as possible, and whenever required, then only you can write the code snippet to handle the specific scenarios. So that's how you can leverage, and these tools are also becoming smarter. Capabilities are also like more and more capabilities is being added, like not only limited to the web UI but API. Some tools providing web plus API, then some are providing web plus API plus mobile, likewise so on and so forth. It's why sometimes smart capability, smart reporters with like we can say the history trends and so on and so forth. So the future is promising, but of course, as I said, that you when you are using when you are choosing your tool, you need to evaluate accordingly as per your requirement, as per your project and team and business requirement. Now this is the last one, which is beyond traditional test automation. So whatever we discussed so far was more or less in traditional test automation, because it was more related to, we can say, functional testing or regression testing, and likewise so on and so forth. But what you can do beyond traditional test automation? So see, there are like I would say more than one category. One is when I'm talking about beyond traditional test automation, it is more like how the technology is evolving. Okay, and we need to test those software as well, and so we need to find out ways, or we need to do the test automation as much as possible to leverage and to ensure and try to evaluate quality in the faster manner. For example, blockchain is one of the new technology. IoT is also increasing as and when the time like with the time. Okay, so I like IoT's devices are increasing day by day. Smartwatch is one of the example which I given before. Now homes are also becoming smarter. Devices are also becoming smarter, electronic devices. So that's how those kind of test automation. So whenever software comes into picture for those kind of stuff, or using those kind of technologies, then of course we need to do so we need to do it in a different way. So that's why we can say, and apart from test automation, so like generally when we talk about test automation, we or automation word, we generally kind of bind it into this functional or regression testing part only. But it is not the case. Like you can utilize it for many other purposes as well. For example, if in your organization you are like the QA team is responsible for the like environment management and handling, so you can write uh, so you can do it in a way that you can you leverage the concept of infrastructure as a code. So using that one script, your infrastructure will be created on the runtime. Your test suite will be executed at the runtime using like the previously used concept, or which we have been using since a very long time, for example CI/CD, so on and so forth. And then once your execution is done, probably you can like shut down that entire environment as well. So that of course depends upon how like your organization strategy and different other aspects as well. But if it is like it is the strategy is like this, that you need to create environment and then you need to run, and then you can terminate, or you can say shut down the environment, so you can handle all those stuff by using this infrastructure as a code related concept. Apart from that, you can leverage AI/ML. Okay, so there are some open source libraries uh, uh, or we can say some are open source and some are free to use, even though if they are not open source, and some are the paid ones. So you can use those libraries, and you can leverage those libraries to make your test automation more smarter, I can say. So those also, when it comes to test data creation and management, so in those kind of areas also you can leverage the automation. Okay, so and if you see the trends, like in the industry, so people are gradually doing all these things which I discussed before, one or more of those things. So you can also think upon where you can leverage automation, okay, or where you can leverage automation testing concept and not bind it only to the traditional manners. Okay, so that was it from my side. I hope it will be helpful and it was insightful. So thank you so much for listening to me, and I would like to thank the QA Touch team for providing me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
On behalf of the QA Touch community, I thank Faiz Modi for all the valuable information he shared with us on the test automation trends to watch out for. Also, thank you to each one of you for attending this session. Till we come back with another informative session, keep learning, keep testing, and do not forget to follow us on our social media handles.